Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. We're back for the third in the trilogy. The last ELO album, we're doing a new world record, which spans the journey, the trajectory of where they were going, I think. I think it was the three albums to show the story. You may disagree, I don't know. There was someone very angry about Eldorado. Not that we said Eldorado was bad, but we just preferred the other album, and that's obviously wrong. So maybe we'll be obviously wrong today as well about a new world record. This is the sellout album, technically. It's a lot more commercial than the previous albums. Now you put it in context of the whole catalogue, it doesn't seem like that because after this they became much more commercial. But certainly in the context of these three albums, very much so. So this is the album where that started really, where you know this is the sellout album, like So is the sellout album, like whatever, you know. And you know, we had two questions. We answered the one question; it was obvious. But the other question really was, you know, is this the music of Philistines? Is it really that's their image of being like sort of like Barry Manilow or something, or kind of a bit boring? And not at all. You know, these three albums have shown that that's not true at all. It could be as people they were a bit boring. You know, they were managed by Don Arden. I would imagine by this point they were managed by Don Arden on Jet Records and all that. And his daughter was sent on tour with them. And of course, Sharon says, there was this boring band called ELO, they were so boring. Of course, the band say, there was this mad woman called Sharon. And she would throw the TVs out windows and all that for them. So, you know, but that's nothing to do with the music, is it? So no, it isn't. It isn't, you know, it isn't chart music, it isn't the Osmonds. It isn't anything to do with any of that. It's definitely heavy rock, sort of. But they are on a trajectory, and they are turning into the Bee Gees, which is inevitable when it's very vocal. They've got a new singer in who can sing high and stuff like that, so they are effectively turning into the Bee Gees. There's another band that's an acronym that begins with EL, who tried to turn into the Bee Gees as well. And for ELO, it was more of a success than the other one, which we shouldn't ever speak of. I mean, you were even scared to touch the album cover, yes, because it was kind of creepy. And is there anything wrong with turning into the Bee Gees? I don't know. Is there? I don't know. I don't know the Bee Gees. Interesting. Yeah, they're a '70s band, aren't they? I don't know.
Led Zeppelin didn't write tunes everybody likes.
Left it to the Bee Gees. You beat me to that one. A lot of it sounds like Queen, and I didn't expect that until I sat down and thought about it. It's interesting that there's a real parallel there in the way things are orchestrated and in the way it's quite commercial. I mean, there's one song, I think Do Ya could be a Queen song. Obviously they're missing Queen's Secret Weapon, but songwriting wise, arrangement wise, it's interesting how that's there. We've also got the two really big songs, big famous songs from their famous era, and that's really Telephone Line and Livin Thing. Are big commercial songs. Telephone Line is interesting because I think it's a bit different, and I never realised before it's doo-wop. It's basically doo-wop, isn't it? And that's good. It's a really good song, so why not? Very commercial. I'm sure it was a massive single. But yeah, remember last week I said about everyone would expect me to like Face the Music, was my favourite one. It's the proggy one, etc. But I've found, because I was listening to all three albums at once over a sort of a month's period, I would generally go for a new world record instead of going for Face the Music, interestingly. But it is a 4-egg album. I only give it 4 eggs because it doesn't do what Face the Music does. But it drew me in, maybe in a lazy way, in that the songs are more accessible. The songs I skip, whereas Face the Music I didn't skip any of it. Really, that's, I think, well, the Mission a world record, it's alright. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't skip it. And So Fine actually kind of sounds like the Bee Gees, actually, so that's a very, very commercial song, and it's nothing wrong with it, I just skip it because I can't be bothered with it. But I really, really like Tightrope, and I think that's the reason that I was putting it on, really, was Tightrope. You've got Bartok intro, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I mean, that could be played by John Petrucci, could play that if he wanted to, and it would sound like Dream Theater, you know, but it's played on strings, isn't it? And that's really good. It's a really good album, it's a sellout album. I wonder if it had a lot of it, because it was very successful, how much influence it had on record companies and stuff that happened subsequently with getting bands to make more accessible music.
I really like this album as well. Kev's already given it an egg rating, which I think is against the rules.
This is I've broken the rules and said an egg.
Ruined the structure of the show, as it is, such as it is.
Anything could happen now.
I love it actually. You equate it to Queen. I think I can see that comparison definitely. One of the albums I really like, it's sort of like a one-off, is 10cc Motion Soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
You might have said that.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of a similar sort of poppy rock type mishmash thing going on there, which is really good. We talked about it being. You've talked about them trying to proceed from where the Beatles left off. There was one point when I was listening to this, I was expecting Paperback Writer to come on.
That's interesting. Goodness me.
Don't know why. I could just hear Paperback Writer starting off in my head just as a track finished. Essentially, it is the kind of album that prevents road rage.
Yeah.
If you've got this on in the car
You're not
and someone cuts you up,
happy.
this is the kind of album that can stop you going full Akira and destroying mankind.
Yeah, it's okay because Rockaria.
Yeah. Because it's quite happy, it's quite mellowy, nothing too challenging. Although there's like elements of opera in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, which to get opera onto a pop album is quite impressive, considering the opera is absolutely pants. So
Yeah, I don't. We're the same in this respect, aren't we?
Yeah. We don't understand opera.
We don't.
Yeah, they've got a little tiny bit at the start of the song. But that little tiny bit is really sort of, ooh, what's this going to be?
Actually, that Rockaria, which is, when you first hear it, it seems ever so cheesy. I mean, she's sweet on Wagner, she died for Beethoven and all that, but I already know it, but then when I listen to it properly, I realise the last bit, where you've got, really, again, it's doo-wop, I think, and the operatic stuff, mixed at the end, joined together, which is brilliant.
It's really clever, and it comes together in essentially a pop song.
Yeah, it's really short. It's like just over 2 minutes or something, I think.
And that is what the Beatles was all about, wasn't it? It was sort of like highly creative, focused songs that sort of like penetrated your mind and stuck with you forever. And that's a song that, well, it's not as good as the Beatles, I don't think, but
Well, no.
yeah, but you know, it's on the right tracks. I thought this was great. I didn't even care about the question: is this prog or not? You know, sometimes I get when I'm listening to an album, I think, why is this prog? What makes this prog? What is prog? You know, that sort of overarching sort of question that goes through all over the head.
A lot of that is just a bit more straightforward, isn't it? It's a 70s rock album.
Yeah.
And that means it's going to be more elaborate than a rock album now.
Yeah. I mean, is it generally the case? You know, you got Genesis, they sort of sold out, and ELP when they sold out. Do they generally, you know, is the last album before that generally quite good as the sort of Venn diagram comes together of selling out and
Generally, yeah. I believe, I don't know if you've heard it, but I believe that the Bee Gees album before Saturday Night Fever is supposed to be really good, apparently. It's quite funny. Yeah, I mean, you've got The Lamb, but then again with Genesis there's a gradual change. You've got Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering try and return to what they were doing before, and so this really is Duke, the 1980 Genesis album, because there's a definite change to something more commercial. But I think I do wonder if, because that was so successful, that a band started out really quite esoteric, listen to the Battle of Marston or to this stuff, that convinced record companies that actually we can convince these bands to make something much more accessible. Because obviously here they successfully do it without losing their muse.
Yeah. I after this run of 3 albums, obviously you hadn't listened to them before, I still don't consider them a Birmingham band. Although the Moody Blues, I do associate them with Birmingham for something. And I think that speaks to the sort of universality of the music. It's maybe a lot of bands are tied to a specific sort of area, the new wave of British metal and stuff like that. So there's like a heavy rock sort of tilt to it.
Yeah, I think maybe an element of the unfashionableness at the time, they're not unfashionable now, they're quite fashionable, might have been because in bringing everything into more concise boxes, I think he went back to the things he was influenced by. So it's not really heavy rock. It's your doo-wop, like I said, and it's your Roy Orbison. and a bit of Dylan as well, that kind of thing, the early rock and roll, the British early 60s kind of stuff, which is confirmed later on because he did a lot of covers of that kind of thing, and that's in there instead of being heavy rock, Deep Purple-y, Black Sabbath-y stuff.
Yeah, which is why, as I say, I probably don't associate it as Birmingham, although he's obviously a massive Birmingham figure. You know, we should be quite proud of Jeff Lynne.
But I don't know where the rest of them are from.
No.
It is really interesting about who's in the band. Now, on the first album, it's quite straightforward because you had Roy Wood, Bev Bevan, Jeff Lynne. The other guy from The Move had left because he wanted to make easy listening or something. But then, because Roy Wood left, that leaves Jeff Lynne and Bev Bevan and a load of session musicians. So why is Bev Bevan a band member? This is not drummer music, you know. I've actually got a recording of Bev Bevan failing on Iron Man. If it's possible to fail to play Iron Man on the drums, he did. So he's not known as a great drummer. It's another one of these bands, isn't it? Well, you know, you can do the drummer jokes, even though musicians know actually a band is only as good as its drummer. But then there's Pink Floyd, there's Metallica, there's ELO. They've all got people who aren't really drummers at all, particularly Nick Mason. And this is the same. But obviously, all the way through this, Bev Bevan remained a band member when Kelly Grocott, who is an integral part of the sound now, because he's singing so much, isn't a band member. You know, the violin guy, who's on it a lot, isn't a band member. And interestingly, Richard Tandy is a band member, even though he wasn't there at the start, which is really true. Now, that kind of makes sense, because he's helping with the arranging, I suppose. But Bev Bevan was kept as a band member. And I think this came back to haunt him later on, because obviously Kelly Grocott actually successfully sued him for royalties, because he said he should have been a band member. If Bev Bevan hadn't been a band member, it would have made more sense. It's
very difficult, isn't it? I mean, when you get down to it, who are the band members? You watch, you mentioned Metallica, then you watch Some Kind of Monster. It really hurt me the way they refer to Metallica as some kind of third person. It's sort of,
you can see the neuroses of stress of what they don't really know what they're doing, and they're so successful, you know.
I suppose it comes down to band politics. And that which is actually not very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich are running the band, and then you've got Kirk Hammett who's just there to play guitar solos. Basically, that's his job, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Roger Waters sort of said there is no Pink Floyd after I've left, because he was an integral part.
Well, he wrote all the songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, he concedes now that that he was wrong. That David Gilmour and Nick Mason and Richard Wright were enough to make it Pink Floyd.
Sort of. I think. Well, whether he kept changing his mind about that, I don't know. But he says legally, really, that Pink Floyd is a thing, and you can't stop it from being a thing. He certainly doesn't approve of all those songs being on the compilation. I don't either. 2-disc compilation. There's a lot of songs from those 2 albums, and it's not appropriate. They're not good enough, you know. I mean, okay, yeah, have 1 or 2 songs from it, that's alright, fair enough, but it's full of it. Stuff from bloody Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Yeah.
Which is almost offensive. And the same thing happened with ELO, you know. Bev Bevan wanted to do ELO again. Phoned up Jeff Lynne, he says, no, I don't want to do that. So he did it, and he had to call it ELO Part 2, controversially. So now he's banished. So in the new shows he's not there. Mm-hmm. It makes no difference.
There we go. I'm going to give it some eggs now.
Okay.
I gave the last one 4 eggs, didn't I? This is actually quite controversial. I agree with you. Well, you don't think it's a better album, do you? You think this isn't...
No, it's not, no.
But you give it...
But I skip tracks. Although I listen to it more than Face the Music, the tracks on it I skip.
Well, actually, last week I said, I got to the end of my journey and I was halfway through the last track. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't too bothered about...
Putting it off.
Putting it off. But at the end of this one... I just think it's the track Shangri-La. I don't want to turn it off.
That's really interesting, because I see a parallel with those 2 songs. It's Shangri-La and it's One Summer Dream. In that I would say there Shangri-La is nowhere near as good as One Summer Dream.
I'm actually disappointed when that finishes. I'm like, oh. So you can see I'm heading towards giving it 5 eggs, but I don't really feel... Well, is it a 5-egg album? If I could give it 4.5, I would. 4 eggs and a fried egg sandwich.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to give it 4 eggs.
Okay. It is a 4-egg album. It's a very good 4-egg album, but it is a 4-egg album.
There we go. Yeah, so what we're going to do next week?
Someone requested War of the Worlds, so I think we should do War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Is that allowed? Is it a rock album? What is it?
You know, I've got to listen to War of the Worlds in the car all week.
Yeah, sorry. Dun dun dun.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, but it's interesting is you know, because it's a musical, really, isn't it? Is it rock music or is it? I don't know. You know, would that mean that we have to do Jesus Christ Superstar?
Well, it's definitely an anomaly.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so see you next week for that.